Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 17 of Kenya's Market Map. This is the last episode of the year 2021. It's been an amazing journey. Thank you so much. We started in August of 2021, must have been mid-August. And coincidentally, we were, in episode 1, we were just the two of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for this episode, I'm sure you're already wondering where is the big man, Daniel Kalia. So Daniel Kalia is not feeling well. We send out the love to our brother, our big brother. We hope that he'll get better. And at the start of the year, 2022, we'll be here with him.
Yeah, sure.
Ready to do this. New stuff coming up.
Yeah, man.
I'm your co-host for today, Kigen Kiplimo.
And I'm Easter Fanning.
Perfect. It looks like things have been dialing down.
Yeah.
In the capital markets, in the business and finance environment. And just before we begin,
last week, right?
I want to tell our viewers that today, when you've seen me with this cape, for those who are listening on audio, you can jump to YouTube, Kenya's Market Map. So I'm officially wearing the mortgage cape.
That's what it's called.
I've already started mortgaging.
You know what they call the God Papa? It's the one.
I'm not sure. No, must be a different one. That Godfather is a different one.
Kangolis,
yes.
That's Douglas, our producer.
Shout out to Douglas. So this is the official mortgage cap. I've started it already. Okay. Yes.
Where is this house?
We are trying with HFC. we see where we'll get. So as I was saying, things have been dialing down. People are of course going on a break. We will be going on a break.
Very much.
I'm feeling tired, Chief. I'm feeling tired for the year. I need some rest.
Me too. Where are you going? Are you going anywhere?
For me, of course, I'll have to go see my family in Shags. But then for a little bit, for a short while, then come back to Nairobi. A lot is still happening in my space.
You've told me about that.
I have a different calendar than most people.
For myself, again, very much needed break. You guys were saying at ICG I went on holiday when?
Yeah, you went on holiday.
It
must have been in
feel
November,
like
October.
Doesn't feel around October. Doesn't feel like it because I'm fatigued, man. Ebu, let's get
so
down.
So, Easter, what's your highlight for this week?
So this week, something very funny to me happened. That Standard Chartered, is looking to partner with
At Cafe.
Yeah. The what in terms of space and retail space.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Why is that? These are industries that look so diverse, so very different.
They're worlds apart, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the fact that it is, if you look at it, if you compare banking and hospitality, in that sense, they're worlds apart.
Yeah.
But if you compare the kind of clients that these two brands individually in these industries serve, there's a point of convergence.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because the guys who go to Art Cafe are kind of the guys who have the same purchasing power to bank with
absolutely. Yeah, it's middle class.
Or the other way around.
And
the guys who
up.
bank with Standard Chartered have this the purchasing capacity, power to buy or get into Art Cafe.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense. But then I was like, why is that? Because traditionally a banking environment is supposed to be very structured, chilled.
Quiet,
if you want some tea, you
no
get
phone
into
calls.
So I'm like, is it an act of desperation? Because again, this comes after these guys, Standard Chartered, had cut off the wage bill by sending guys home.
Yeah.
So what's going on there?
I don't think it's desperation, as you say. I think you're exaggerating it. I think it's a strategy. Strategies might work or might not work. So I'm still trying to. I think I'll visit one of the branches. So Art Cafe has one of the reasons why Standard Chartered chose Art Cafe was because Art Cafe has, a national footprint. They have more than 50 outlets. And so I wanted to visit one of the outlets that they've placed a bank inside the Art Cafe to see how it's been structured, the outlay, the outlay of the office.
The interior design.
The interior. To see how practical it would work, because you wouldn't want, starting to have, the tellers again and having the
that
tellers.
That is exactly why it sounded ridiculous to me.
Having the tellers,
I
with,
was like, you're passing each other
with pans and everything around there. You don't want it mixed up. Of course, it won't be mixed up, but I'd love to see the outlay of how, customers are flowing in and how it happens. It would be interesting to see that. And, you've seen that Standard Chartered, they've cut their number of branches by close to 50%.
That's
from
in the quarter three banking sector.
Absolutely. Right? And, it's informed by numbers, because for the financial year ended 2020, December, you find that 94% of transactions in Standard Chartered Bank were outside the branches. Yeah. So that would make sense to do that. This is interesting.
To cut on the number of banking of physical outlets.
Yeah, and that has cut down also on the staff, on the number of staff.
Yeah.
So it's important it's interesting to note this. We'll see. I'll definitely next year I'll be scouting to see the progress in that. And for me, for
this particular engagement, or
for this particular engagement.
Okay.
Just to see how it pans out. I want to visit a branch. And for me, an interesting thing is the trends that we've been seeing when it comes to businesses and office spaces, particularly shared services. Yeah. Because on this front, we'll be having, shared services like, you'll have shared services like cleaning. So probably the cleaning would for security. The bank and security. So those shared services, it's been a trend, an emerging trend in the office space. So that's important to note. So it's a cost-cutting venture also, to electricity and the likes. So interesting to see that, because today we have many companies, and particularly startups. So if you're starting out, you don't need to necessarily go and, have your own space and everything, and employ a cleaner and what, there is this office sharing platforms,
co-working spaces.
Absolutely, you just join in. So I think now this is co-working spaces for corporates.
Yeah. But the thing is, it has to be a niche bank doing it. You don't want a mwananchi bank like Equity getting into partnership with who? Java.
Why not? Explain to me why not.
What would Equity? Okay, not to insinuate anything about diminishing or undermining the purchasing power and economic status of Equity bankers, guys who bank with Equity, sorry, but these are guys who on a daily don't go to Java.
But don't you think that Equity has a premium, sort of like a premium
that is there? That is there,
because we normally see it with a lot of the banks. Numbers. If you look at Cooperative Bank, we have executive banking.
Yeah.
When you look at KCB, we have KCB Advantage Banking.
Yeah.
You see, so even in this sort of non-niche banks, so to speak, non-niche banks, they also have inside them a segment for premium clients.
That is true. But then, in short, you're saying that these people, the customers, are stratified into economic status, right?
Absolutely.
Statuses, right?
You have corporate clients.
But the thing is, now look at the proportions. If 10% of my customers are, if only 10% of my customers have the purchasing power to go into Java, would it make sense for me to go through all the hurdles in getting into partnership with Java?
No, I mean you can do it, but then just do it with a plan. For example, as I've just mentioned, you could have Cooperative Bank, the executive banking side.
Yeah.
Now, because if you actually, we normally record on Gong Road, and here in Gong Road, just before you get to our studios at Trio Media, you find that there is an executive Cooperative Bank executive banking branch that is solely for executive banking at the China, it's called China Center on Gong Road.
Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah, so you could have the executive banking branch with Java
at a specific
inside Java. Okay, so that would make more sense than
than just doing it because standard.
Absolutely, yeah. So you can segment it.
Makes sense. Your highlight?
My highlight is goes out is a little bit touching on diplomacy and the international relations.
What is that?
This week we saw that President Biden of the USA appointed Margaret, I've forgotten her second name, as nominated her to be the ambassador to Kenya. So I think there'll be a vetting process going on before she comes to Kenya and takes the job. So interestingly, Meg is a dollar billionaire, I must say. Former CEO of HP, eBay. So this is a corporate
sits on
lady,
very big boards, huh?
Yeah, corporate guru.
Yeah.
made it, in the corporate scene.
Yeah.
She's 65 years old. So
she doesn't look like
she's a
don't get please don't get ideas. Don't get ideas.
No comment, my brother, no comment, but it's allowed. So I mean, she's a Republican, but she funded part of Hillary Clinton's campaign when she was vying against Trump back in 2016. So she has some ties with the Democrats. Now, interestingly, for me, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at better times. This is the first time we're having an ambassador of this background. She doesn't have any diplomacy, international relations background.
She's coming straight from corporate.
She's coming from corporate.
Oh, God.
Okay. Now I'm looking at
is that good news?
Our US relations, and I'm seeing that this time will be focused on
Trade.
A lot of trade and business and investment. Okay? That's where the focus is going. Because if you even look at USAID is on a transition from funding projects that are to do with, buying milk for kids and food and everything, those kinds of projects you see in the community, to more of boosting, bettering trade, investment, access to business and everything. So they are moving to funding such kind of businesses. So that would tell you of how the Americans are changing their tact. So in this case, I'm looking at business bettering, and even more importantly, I'm looking at the prospects of the US-Kenya FTA, the free trade agreement that was shelved. This had really taken traction when Trump was in office. President Kenyatta had gone to see Trump. He has, of course, gone to see President Biden. And the US-Kenya FTA is something that the Republicans really wanted to push forward and get it done before Trump's tenure came to an end. But that was, of course, not successful. So when the Democrats came in with President Biden, they said, as they are widely known for, that is not their priority. For them, they prefer working with a larger body, for example, having a partnership with Africa as a continent, and not necessarily individual countries. So, but now looking at this, I'm like, what are the prospects that we would revive the US-Kenya FTA, and bring it back to life? So I'm just speculating as an economic commentator. So I think the odds have risen.
If Meg's government or party is aligned towards having partnerships with larger organizations and not individuals.
Meg is a Republican herself.
Okay.
Yeah, Republican. The other way around.
Okay. So now.
But then her boss is still a Democrat who doesn't believe in that. But then you have to understand that AGOA is coming to an end in 2025.
You have to advance the agendas of your boss.
Absolutely.
You're here to represent your boss quite literally as an ambassador.
But then consider this, Easter.
So you can't come and start.
You see, AGOA that is there in Kenya and of course Africa. You find that AGOA, the one that we mostly use to export textile duty free to the US, you find that it's expiring in the year 2025, which is what? Just 3 years away now, because we are already in 2022, just a number of days. So it's 3 years away. You should start planning of the next trade partnership agreement. So the US-Kenya FTA would have been a good substitution for AGOA when it comes to Kenya particularly. So what next? People are starting to ask what next. But for me, looking at Meg's background, I'm saying probably we could have it done by next year, the US-Kenya FTA.
I'm not so sure about that. We're looking at Meg's background.
Yeah.
You're seeing white, I'm seeing black. Quite literally.
Black and white.
Because you know how our scene is, the political scene and how systems are in Kenya. I was about to call him this chick. This Meg is coming from US.
Oh my.
Do not get ideas, Keegan. Meg is coming from the US, where systems are kind of very structured, functional, and operate efficiently.
No doubt.
At least more efficiently than they are in Kenya.
No doubt.
No doubt, right? So she comes here, and where systems are not working and all that, no structures, corruption and all, she's going to be frustrated. And she has no background in politics, in dealing with governments, directly at least. Maybe she handled indirectly.
So frustrated in the overall, operations of the US Embassy in Kenya, or just particularly with the US-Kenya FTA?
No, with her new role as an ambassador.
Okay.
Yeah. So
challenges are there, but for me, I mean, if you look at it from a realistic point of view, the Kenyans have a big perception about Americans, So even when the embassy reaches out to politicians and government institutions in Kenya, for example, reaches out to the National Police Service they listen. These are the Americans. They listen. So it's
so I should not fear.
You are
should not fear.
Cast your fears away.
Cool. Let me wait. Let me wait and